Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank you all to be here today. This is always a pleasure for us to share some useful information with all of you. First of all, I would like to greet all the women here because today is our day and is a very special day. Secondly, I would like to thank you all for your presence. And I would like to start by introducing our team in the Algarve office. My name is Rede. I'm one of the lawyers of the RSA office in Almancil. We have another excellent lawyers that is Sara Minhalma and Paula Chabregas, who are going to give you a short presentation about moving and living in Portugal. My colleague Sara Minhalma will start the presentation, let you know more about how can I get legal residency in Portugal. Then my colleague Paula will explain to you more about the tax regime that foreign residents can benefit in Portugal. During the presentation, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat. And at the end, the webinar, the speakers will be able to answer some of them. During the presentation, please, I ask you to switch off your sound to be more comfortable for all of us to hear what our speakers have to say. Right now, I think we are ready to start our webinar, and I will pass to Sara.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for attending our webinar. Let me share my screen to all of you. Just a second. Okay. So, in the first part of this webinar, I will try to answer this big question, which is how can I get legal residence in Portugal? Just for a brief introduction, why Portugal? Why Portugal has been considered one of the most desired destinations for foreign people who want to live abroad. From an international point of view, Portugal has been standing out for several reasons. For example, according to 2020 Global Peace Index, Portugal is the third safest country in the world, maintaining the same position from 2019, right after Iceland and New Zealand. According to Forbes, Portugal is one of the 5 best countries for a second citizenship. As for international living, the world's best places to retire in 2021, Portugal is the 5th place winner and the first European country in the list, and also the 5th best place to invest in real estate in 2021, it's Algarve and beyond. According to Live and Invest Overseas, the world's best place to retire in 2021 is Tavira in Algarve, Portugal, and Lisbon is in the 3rd place. But there are more international recognitions. For example, the 2020 World Travel Awards, Portugal won in total 27 awards, including Europe's leading destination, and the Algarve won Europe's for the 4th consecutive year, and the Algarve won Europe's leading beach destination for the 2nd consecutive year. I could continue, but from an internal perspective, not many countries in the world can compete with Portugal's unique offer, such as we have an excellent weather, as we all know, many hours of sun, a public health service, an excellent cost of living. It's not expensive to live in Portugal. We are safe, As I said before, we have high quality of life, cultural heritage, beautiful landscapes in the countryside, wonderful beaches, the gastronomy, a competitive tax regime, and the list goes on and on, but we have to continue with the main subject of this webinar. Now, I will talk about these two ways to get legal residence in Portugal. Golden visa, which is obtained in Portugal through an investment activity. The process happens entirely in Portugal, and national visas. The applications are submitted at the Portuguese Embassy or Consulate or through the VFS Portugal Visa Application Center. Now, this is an outsourced company who is operating in many countries right now, assisting the Portuguese Embassy or Consulate. They have a website, you can consult online which countries, if your country is in the list. I know the UK, in the UK and US, they are operating. They are helping the Portuguese Embassy in national visas. These are the main differences, okay? Golden visa is, the process happens all in Portugal, and national visas, the first part of the process is in the country of origin. Starting with the golden visa. Golden visa is a temporary residence permit obtained through one of the 8 types of investment provided for law. There are 8 types that I will talk right away. But first, I would like to talk about the advantages of having a golden visa. It allows entry in Portugal with no residence visa required. It allows also the applicants to live and work in Portugal if they want to. But if they don't want to live, they don't have to live, okay? It allows also to move freely through the Schengen area countries without the need of a special visa. Now, it's very important, golden visa in Portugal only allows applicants to live in Portugal. They cannot live in another European Union country, although they can travel with no problem. Request family reunification of parents, spouses, children, in-laws, stepchildren, and adoptees. They will benefit from all the advantages of the golden visa. And after 5 years, golden visa holders can apply for a permanent residence permit or the Portuguese citizenship. These are just a few of the advantages of having a golden visa. Golden visa has an initial duration of 1 year. It's renewable twice, each 2 years. And there are a lot of requirements that the applicants must fulfill, but there are 2 very important. The first one is the investor or the main applicant has to maintain the investment for a minimum period of 5 years, meaning that during the minimum period of 5 years, the applicants cannot sell the property, cannot stay not even a day without the investment made. Otherwise, they will lose golden visa. The second very important requirement is during the 5 years period, the applicant has to stay in Portugal for a minimum period of 7 days per year. Otherwise, it can compromise also the golden visa. The phases of golden visa. Well, phase 1, it's only for the first application, okay? The applicant must submit an online application with all the required documents and pay the analysis fee, which is around 533 euros in 90 cents. These amounts are updated each year, but it won't be much more than this, okay? Phase 1. Phase 2, which applies to the application and each renewal, it's the appointment at the Immigration and Border Service to collect the biometric data of the applicant and to submit the application in person. The analysis fee is only paid in the case of the renewal because on the first phase, the first application, you pay the analysis fee. After the process is approved by the Immigration and Borders Service, on phase 3, in case of application, the first application, the approval fee is 5,336 euros and 40 cents. And for each renewal, it's 50% of this amount, 2,668 euros and 20 cents. Just to give you a picture of the costs. Now, about the restrictions. This subject has been much talked about in the media. Well, first, it will be into force only from January 1st, 2022. The changes will only apply to investors who submit their application for a residence permit after December 31, 2021. The renewals of process approved under the current regime, as well as the requests for family reunification, will not be affected. The proposal, well, the government said the proposal was to promote the investment of foreigners in low density regions, especially through urban rehabilitation, cultural heritage, activities of high environmental or social value, productive investment and job creation. But it's also to stop the price increases of properties intended for housing in the big cities like Lisbon and Porto, and also in the Algarve. What are exactly the restrictions? Well, in fact, in Lisbon, Porto, and what they call metropolitan areas, as well as coastal regions, including most of the Algarve, it won't be possible to apply for golden visa by property investment if the property is for housing, which means that there is still a possibility to buy property and apply for golden visa in all areas of the country, as long as if the house is not intended for housing. Investment in real estate for commercial, industrial, or services purposes, including stores, I give you some examples, restaurants, offices, touristic apartments, allows the investor to apply for golden visa regardless the location area. So it's not as bad as we all thought it would be. As for the regions with restrictions from 2022, with no restrictions at all, we have what they call intermunicipal communities in the interior and in autonomous regions like Azores and Madeira. Here, the investor can buy a property for housing and can apply for golden visa. It won't be penalized for that. Now, just a brief information about the types of investment for golden visa. We have the real estate purchase for the minimum amount of 500,000 euros. As the first two are very common and popular. And the acquisition of real estate for rehabilitation works with a minimum amount of 350,000 euros. Now, from 2022, these two amounts will not increase. It remained the same. The change is it's if the property is for housing, not all the places in Portugal are suitable for the golden visa application. We also have, as a type of investment for golden visa applicants, capital transfer in the amount of 1 million euros or more. Now, from 2022, this minimum amount will increase. It will be 1.5 million at minimum. Also, another type of investment, the creation of at least 10 jobs. It remains the same. The capital transfer in an amount equal to or greater than 350,000 euros intended for the acquisition of investment units in investment funds or venture capital funds dedicated to the capitalization of companies, which are constituted under the Portuguese legislation, whose maturity at the time of the investment is at least 5 years, and at least 60% of the value of the investments is made in the commercial companies based in Portugal. From 2022, due to the restrictions, the minimum amount will be 500,000 euros. Also, another type of investment, capital transfer in the minimum amount of 350,000 euros or more applied to research activities carried out by public or private scientific research institutions integrated into the national scientific and technological system. Another change from 2022 is the minimum amount. It will be 500,000 minimum. It is also possible to apply for golden visa by capital transfer in the minimum amount of 250,000 euros for investment or support of artistic production, recovery or maintenance of national cultural heritage through central or peripheral direct administration services, public institutes, entities that integrate public business sector, public foundations, private foundations with public utility status, intermunicipal entities that comprise the local business sector, municipal associative entities, and public cultural associations which carry out tasks in the area of artistic production, recovery or maintenance of cultural and national heritage. This minimum amount won't suffer any increase with the restrictions from 2022. Finally, the last type of investment to apply for golden visa is the capital transfer in a minimum amount of 350,000 euros intended for the incorporation of a commercial company located in Portugal, combined with the creation of 5 permanent jobs, or for strengthening the capital stock of a commercial company located in Portugal, already incorporated, with the creation or maintenance of jobs with a minimum of 5 permanents and for a minimum period of 3 years. From 2022, the minimum amount for this type of investment will be 500,000 euros. Now I will talk about other way to get legal residence in Portugal. It's to apply for a national visa. Now, national visas, there are 2 types of national visas. The temporary stay visas allows entry and stay in Portugal for less than 1 year, are valid during the entire stay and allows multiple entries. And on the other hand, we have the residency visas, which allows 2 entries. It's valid for a period of 4 months. And during that period, the applicant must have an appointment at the Immigration and Border Service to request a residence permit. Now, I won't speak about the temporary stay visas because the theme of our webinar is the legal residence. So I will only refer to the types of residency visas. So as you can see, we have many categories of residency visas here, according to the purpose of the stay. We have work, study and research, professional training or volunteer work, family reunification, and fixed residency, the D7 visa, which is becoming more and more popular. Starting with the category of work, as you can see, applicants can apply for a residency visa for higher education, teaching purposes, highly qualified activity or cultural purposes, as well as highly qualified subordinate activity. But there are more. There are the possibility to require residency visa for subordinate work purposes or residency visa for independent work purposes or entrepreneurs. Well, I must say that I have to alert you for the fact that the law says that if you want to come to Portugal to work, you need to apply for a residency visa in the Portuguese consulate of your country. But the law also has an exception, which is if the applicant comes to Portugal, enters legally in Portugal, this is very important, gets a tax number, signs a work contract, gets a social security number, starts to make payments each month for social security, the applicant can apply for a residence permit for work purposes in Portugal without a residency visa. However, the process is longer. The online submission the approval can take several months, almost a year. Everything is so delayed right now. And after the online approval, the applicant must schedule an appointment to the Immigration and Border Service to request a residence permit, submit all the documents he submitted online, and take the biometric data, everything. It's longer, but it's possible. But it's only possible, this exception only applies to subordinate work and independent work. For example, one example of independent work, the applicant comes to Portugal and decides he wants to work in Portugal, incorporates a company. It is also possible to request in Portugal the residence permit by this exception. Study and research. It's possible to apply to a residency visa for research, study, high school student exchange, internship, and volunteer work purposes. The purpose of the stay here is fundamental to see which residency visa applies, right? Family reunification. This one is very important because most of the applicants who want to come to Portugal want to bring their families. So the family members need to request a residency visa for family reunification purposes. Well, the law considers family members, spouses, also people who live together but they're not married, children, minors or more than 18 years old if they are financially dependent on the main applicant, if they're single and studying at a Portuguese school or university, parents, in-laws, stepchildren, adoptees, also brothers and sisters, only if they are minors, and if the main applicant is the legal guardian according to a decision issued by the competent authority of the country of origin. Besides the general list of documents that family members need to provide to apply for family reunification, the proof of family bonds is fundamental. We talk about marriage certificate if it's a spouse, birth certificate if we are talking about children, birth certificate of the applicant if we are talking about the parents, adoptees, the decision of adoption. It depends. Each case is the case. It has to be analyzed. Finally, fixed residency, the D7 visa. It's the type of visa applicants can apply for retirement purposes, religious purposes, or for people living out of individual revenue. Now, I want to talk about the religious purposes. I will talk about the retirement purposes and people who are living from income, regular income. Once again, the benefits of having a D7 visa. Well, live and have a professional activity in Portugal if the applicant wants so. Free entry and circulation in the Schengen area countries. Once again, it will not be possible to live in another European Union country, only to travel with no special visa required. Family reunification, to become a non-habitual resident in Portugal for 10 years. This special tax regime, my colleague will speak in the second part of this webinar. Equal rights as a Portuguese citizen. There are a few. Access to national healthcare system, social security, law and justice, education. Of course, there are some rights that are exclusive of Portuguese citizens, like vote, but there are a lot of equal rights that a person with a residence permit can benefit. Phases of getting a D7 visa. Well, the first we have the preliminary procedures, which is obtaining a Portuguese taxpayer number. Now, I have to say that if you are a non-European Union citizen, you will need a tax representative. It's mandatory, at least until you have the residence permit. There you can change the address and everything will be legal. Open a bank account in Portugal and arrange accommodation, buying or leasing real estate, for example. The phase 2 is the visa, the D7 visa application. As I said before, it happens at the Portuguese embassy or consulate or through VFS Global, if applicable. Now, I give you just a general documentation list for the D7 visa and also for the other types of residency visas. The documents are pretty much the same. You have the official form, you will need a passport, 2 recent photos, a valid travel insurance, proof of being in a regular situation when from a different country. Well, for example, if you are non-European Union citizen, but you have a residence permit in Spain, okay, you can apply for a D7 visa at the Portuguese consulate in Spain to come to Portugal. No problem with that. You will need also to present the criminal record certificate, authorization to consult the Portuguese criminal record, and proof of having accommodation in Portugal, as I said before. Now, this one is very important. Proof of means of subsistence as stipulated by law. The minimum amount is calculated with basis of the minimum salary, which is updated each year in Portugal. For example, for 2021, the minimum salary is 665 euros. For 12 months, it gives us the amount of 7,980 euros per year. This is the minimum amount the applicant needs to prove. Okay, as for the second adult, here we are talking about the family reunification. Okay, we talk about a spouse or a parent, for example. It's 50% of the first amount. And as for the children and young people under the age of 18, it's 30% of the first amount. So all these amounts can be proved by a bank extract, for example. As I said before, there is a general list of documents that applicants need to provide, and according for the purpose, you will have specific documents. For example, if you are a retired person, you will need to present a document certifying the retirement amount. Or if you are a person who lives out from personal revenue, you will have to present documents that you have that income, like from property rents, property income, intellectual or financial assets, for example. And it's very important for you to understand that I'm giving you a general list, but the Portuguese Embassy, Consulate, or VFS Global, if applicable, can request additional documents. This is just a general list documentation. Finally, phase 3 is the residence permit application. As I said before, once you have the D7 visa, which allows you entries in Portugal, valid for 4 months, and during that period, you will have an appointment at Immigration and Border Service to request the residence permit. Submit all the requested documents and take the biometric data. It will be issued a temporary residence permit that it's valid for a period of 2 years and renewable for periods of 3 years. Now, this is from 2020. I think they will continue with this system. Now, a very important issue is the absence from Portugal. The law says no more than 6 consecutive months or 8 interpolate months during the total period of validity of the permit, except if the absence are for professional or business activities or of a culture or social nature which must be duly sustained at the Immigration and Borders Services. As for the costs, as you can see by the analysis fees or the approval fees, this type of residence permit is more cheaper than the Golden Visa. Finally, after 5 years of legal residency in Portugal, the applicant has two choices. The first one is to apply for a permanent residence permit, which is valid for a period of 5 years, renewable each 5, or to apply for the Portuguese citizenship, which means that you will have a Portuguese passport and you are, congratulations, an European Union citizen. You will benefit from all the rights a European Union citizen benefits. For example, you can settle residency in any country of the European Union. Of course, you will have to fulfill some formalities. For example, here in Portugal, if a European Union citizen wants to come to live to Portugal more than 3 months, the only thing that the applicant must do is to have an appointment at the city council and request a registration certificate by presenting the passport, presenting the proof of address and the tax number. And it will be issued a registration certificate, which is valid for 5 years. And the cost is only 15 euros. So as you can see, much more easy and much more cheaper. And I'm sure the other countries of the European Union have similar ways to do to settle residency. In both options, I have to alert you for the fact that you need to prove the knowledge of the Portuguese language. It's basic Portuguese, nothing very complicated. But for example, you will have to provide a certificate of a Portuguese language course of level A2. And I must alert you also for the fact that not all Portuguese language courses will be accepted to request permanent residence permit or the Portuguese citizenship. For example, the language course has to be recognized, okay, by the government. In public schools, you will have no problem. In universities, you will also have no problem. But just be sure that before you take the Portuguese course, that the Portuguese course, it's suitable for this type of residency. And that's all for my part. I will pass, thank you for your attention. I will pass the word to my colleague, Paula. She will continue with the second part of this webinar.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
No problem.
Thank you also, Nidia, for the introduction. And now just let me do something here. So can all see, sorry. Just a moment, I will. Almost there, and not yet. Tenho aqui.
Não, aqui?
Uhum.
Não, aqui.
Aqui.
Agora,
Okay,
aqui.
tá aqui. Obrigada. So I think that now we are sharing the same slides. I believe so. Thank you, Nidia. So my subject is, I think, of the most importance for the ones that would like to come to Portugal. And this matter has to do with tax benefits in Portugal for those who are not Portuguese, but are resident here for a long period of time. And one of the questions that most of our clients are doing nowadays, especially the British citizens, is if the NHR status or the non-habitual resident status or regimen is still applied to their situation after Brexit. The answer is yes, you can apply for the NHR status after Brexit, as well as any other citizen from, for instance, the United States, Germany, Brazil, wherever you are. Why? Because most of the rules that in which the NHR status is based is on the treaties to avoid double taxation. And so wherever you are and wherever you come from, you can also apply for this NHR status. However, you need to comply and to fulfill some requirements in order to obtain this NHR regimen. You cannot have been a fiscal resident in Portugal for the past 5 years. You may have a property in Portugal. You may live here for 10 years, 15 years. But the main thing is that you cannot have in your fiscal numbered document the address in Portugal, because that makes you a fiscal resident in Portugal. You must have your address in your country of origin, even if you have lived here for the past 10 years, for instance. So this is very important. Then you need to become a fiscal resident in Portugal. To be here in our country more than 183 days in a period of time of 12 months, which means that are more or less 6 months, and to have a residency in Portugal showing the intention of living here in a permanent and habitual way. That means that you need to either have a property in Portugal of your own, or you need to have, for instance, a rental contract to show the Portuguese government, the Portuguese entities, that you really want to live here permanently and to have these fiscal benefits. I just want to show you the difference between if you have your NHR status and you have Portuguese income from a Portuguese source. For instance, if you are working here to someone else, to a company, or if you are an independent worker, if you have dividends, interests, property income, pensions, capital gains tax for whatever reason, and these taxes are much more higher than the income from applied to the income from the foreign sources. So as you can see, the rates applicable, 20%, both for dependent and independent activity, but only the ones considered as high valid activity, like doctors, like engineers. So there is a new list, and some of the activities that were before considered high valid nowadays are not anymore, but just a few ones. So then you have the 28% rate for the dividends, interest, capital gains tax, property income, like if you rent your property and you have income from that activity, or including pensions, in which you are subject to the same progressive tax rates as we are here in Portugal. But if you have income from foreign sources, like for instance your own country, like a pension, like if you are working for a company based in the United Kingdom or in Germany or in the United States, and you can live here in Portugal, because with the new technologies you can of course be a resident in your own country and live here. But if you become a non-habitual resident citizen, you will be exempt if your income arises from dependent activity or independent one in your country, for instance, UK. As long as the treaty, in order to avoid double taxation, mentions that this income is taxed or may be taxed in the source country. Normally it's not taxed there and neither in Portugal, but the treaty must mention that there is a possibility that this income is taxed in the country of origin. This is sufficient so that you can be exempt here in Portugal. The same to dividends, interests, capital gains tax, and predial income. All of these, if there is the possibility of being taxed in the source country, is exempt in Portugal, and also in some cases, because you are no longer a fiscal resident in your country, but in Portugal, not also taxed in your country of origin. Pensions are nowadays taxed at a 10% rate. Before it were also exempt, but the government just changed to a 10% rate. If you prove that this income is not obtained in Portugal, which is easy to prove with the documents that you receive from the government in your own country, and or is taxed also, there is also the possibility of being taxed in your country, the source country. And as you can see, there are a lot of benefits if you live here as a non-habitual resident, but you continue to receive your income from your country of origin or any other country. There are two main steps to obtain this non-habitual resident status. The first one is to obtain the fiscal number in Portugal. But as my colleague Sarah spoke earlier, if you require for a D7 visa coming to Portugal, of course you need to have this fiscal number already. So this is just a formality, and if you have it already, perfect. Also the passport, the proof of address in the country of your residency. Why? Because this is a proof that you are not being a fiscal resident in Portugal for the last 5 years. And as I said at the beginning, although you have lived here for the last 10 years, everything is still in your country of residency. You have there your main residency, you have there your family, your income. So this is a proof of address to show the government that you are not living here for the last 5 years. To appoint a fiscal representative in Portugal, and a declaration authorizing a lawyer to obtain the fiscal number in your name and on your behalf. Why? Because for us, it's not too complicated, but this process nowadays is made mainly online and everything is in Portuguese. And there are several steps to do it. So I believe that for you, it's not easy to follow all those steps. And so we are, of course, prepared to do everything. The second phase is the alteration of your status before the Portuguese fiscal administration. That is, you need to require your fiscal residency to be in Portugal. You need, of course, the fiscal number, a certified copy of a deed of purchase and sale or of a rental contract to show the Portuguese government and the fiscal administration that you have the intention of living here, and also the certificate of residency or authorization of residency. Why? Because some of the British citizens, before the 31st December last year, they managed to obtain the certificate of residency, which is valid for 5 years' time, as Sarah told you before. But for those who did not manage to get this certificate, you need, of course, an authorization of residency. So both are equally enough to apply for this status. The non-habitual resident, the name is a very little awkward because you at least need to be here for a 6 months period of time. But non-habitual, it means that this is mainly for fiscal purposes. Of course, you need to have here also your civil residency, but mainly this is applied for fiscal purposes and to have all those benefits. which I think are very, very good, comparing to other countries like Spain, like Croatia, France. So we have, our rates are much more lower than the other countries using also this regime in Europe. And almost made it. Final steps to obtain the code to access the fiscal administration site. This is why I was talking to you to ask a lawyer to do this and to issue a power of attorney, because then this needs to be made online, and the request of the NHR status also is made online. And then one of the most important things is to obtain the fiscal certificate in Portugal and the certificate of non-fiscal resident in your country. Why? Because you need to say to the government in your country, to the authorities, that you no longer are a fiscal resident there, but you are a fiscal resident in Portugal. So you cannot be taxed there and, of course, pay the same taxes as before. This is because of the treaties to avoid double taxation. And it's very important because some of the clients at the beginning, they just complete these steps and forgot to obtain the form from your country of origin. This form needs to be filled in with all the information that they require, sent to the fiscal administration in Lisbon, to be stamped, and then to be sent to your country of origin so that they know that you are no longer a fiscal resident there and they won't tax you as before. And of course, you are exempt here in Portugal according to the slide that I have shown you before. So finally, we made it. We are on the beach. We are enjoying our life in Portugal, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
So, thank you very much for your presentations, Sarah and Paula. Right now, we have some time to some questions that you have for our speakers, if you have, or if you not have. I'm going to...
We will send the PowerPoint's presentation to all of you.
Yeah, if you think it's useful,
Yes.
you can do this. Yeah.
And for further questions, we have our emails in the last PowerPoint, in the last slide. So if you have any specific question about any residence visa or about the non-habitual resident status, we will be pleased to answer you. So.
Okay. I'm also going to put our emails on the chat for you to have if you need it.
Just a quick question.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, when Sarah was talking, she mentioned that you can get Portuguese citizenship or permanent residence, and all you need to do is prove the language. So basically, is this done where it can be done in a conservatorio, or do you have to go make an appointment with the CEF or something?
No, it's not. It doesn't happen at CEF. It happens in the civil registry office in Conservatoria. Okay.
Sorry, your voice is break.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, now it's better. It's just
okay,
there was
okay.
a voice break.
Sorry.
Yes, it's okay now.
The process is submitted at the civil registry office, which is in Conservatoria, Registro Civil. Okay. You can send it by postmail. All the documents required. You don't need an appointment. You can deliver everything at the desk, but you can send by postmail to the competent entity.
Mm-hmm. But they can give you further documents which are required as well, isn't it?
Sorry, can you repeat?
If there are more documents required,
yes,
then they will.
Yes, they will send you a number. Okay, that's your process number, and then you will be noticed if necessary to present more documents. And the cost, I forgot to mention, the cost is 250 euros. You can pay at the post mail. Once you send everything to the competent entity, you pay 250 euros for the application.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I don't know if we have more questions. Okay.
Meanwhile, just remember, or have some doubts, please just send us an email and we just answer. And because at this point, we may not remember everything, but if you have any doubts, or if you know anyone that has any doubts, please do not hesitate to contact us, and we will, of course, answer the questions, the queries that we may have.
So I think that's it. Once again, I would like to thank you all for your presence here, and we'll see if we can talk in another time.
Thank you also for your information. It was very useful.
Oh, thank you for assisting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.